morning, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Lisa Sharp, and I'm the president of the FirstU Board of Directors. Information about FirstU is normally available at the welcome table at the back of the sanctuary. However, while the FirstU building is closed because of COVID-19, you can find information about our congregation on our website, firstunitarianottawa.ca. Or you can contact us by email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. As well, we usually have a hospitality hour after our service. But during the pandemic, we have been holding a virtual get-together on Zoom. Usually it's at 11:30 a.m. on Sundays. If you'd like to join us for the virtual hospitality hour, please see our website for information. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, and however you identify, today you are part of our spiritual community. Welcome. We hope you come back soon.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ian Hill. I'm the ministerial intern here at First Unitarian and the UU Fellowship of Ottawa. I am delighted to be your worship associate today. As many of you may know, our building continues to be closed to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. However, we at First Unitarian have remained connected and active. We are still a vibrant congregation with open minds and open hearts. I hope this moment finds each of you well. This morning, I welcome you into my new home here in Ottawa, and I thank you for welcoming all who are participating in the service today into your home. Although we find ourselves in separate places, here we are together online, listening, connecting, and soon singing after a few more announcements. In these times, staff are working remotely and are monitoring emails during usual work hours. Phone calls will be checked less regularly, so please do email staff for a quicker response. I'd also like to announce, now that I've settled into my ministerial internship here locally, I'd like to offer opportunities for one-on-one meetups. I'd most prefer to connect virtually, given the recent spike of COVID cases here, but once my quarantine ends, I'll be open to socially distanced meetups, preferably outdoors. My contact information will be available in the electronic newsletter. Speaking of which, it is more important than ever to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Check out our Facebook page and our website for notices and updates. Our online calendar is full and begging for your participation. We'd also love your participation in our virtual hospitality hour. We meet on Zoom at 11:30 a.m. every Sunday. Look for our Zoom link in Friday's EUU newsletter or on our website. Do look into this week's EUU and website for a variety of announcements, including trivia nights and Sunday morning forums. This morning, we have a special guest with us, Gilbert, Guerrero, and the Reverend Jane Dwindell, who were our presenters yesterday for the Beyond Categorical Thinking webinar. It was a webinar to help FirstU expand perceptions regarding the search for potential new ministers. Guerrero is a licensed social worker, psychotherapist, and adjunct assistant professor. He was the congregational administrator at Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church in Carrollton, Texas, for 7 years. In the past, Gil had a career in the design and production of theme park rides and attractions. This led him to work in Japan at Tokyo Disneyland, Universal Studios, and Disney World. The Reverend Jane Dwindell is a retired UU minister who specialized in serving and consulting with small congregations and has been a Beyond Categorical Thinking trainer for 23 years. She lives in northern Vermont on the Canadian border with her 2 cats, Pogo and Tubby. She spends her time gardening and enjoying being in and on Lake Champlain. Her spouse of 35 years has dementia and is living in a memory care facility. They have a blog chronicling their journey at alzheimerscanyon.blogspot.com. Again, that's alzheimerscanyon.blogspot.com. Thank you, Gil and Jane, for joining us. Welcome.
Morning. I'm Jane Lindsay, and I'm a member of the search committee tasked with finding a new settled minister for First Unitarian Congregation. And I'm here today to tell you that our work, the first phase of our work, is going really well. This is an information gathering phase where we learn from you what the congregation wants in a minister, and we get together lots of information about the congregation to share with the minister so that we can get a really great match for us. This is a phase in which you can participate, and many congregants have already done so. But if you haven't, I'd like you to know that there are still 2 ways you can do so, but you need to do it in the next 2 weeks. The first way is to complete our congregational survey. You can do this by going online to firstunitarianottawa.ca, and at the very top of the page you'll see a button, Minister Search. Click that, and then from there you can click on Survey. We want everyone to complete this. You don't have to be an official member, you can be an attendee, but it's really important we get to hear from you, and ministers are impressed by the number of people who respond. So please do so, but know that the deadline for doing so is Thanksgiving Day, Monday, October 12th. So rather than wait, do it maybe later today or within the next couple of days. The second way you can participate is to sign up for one of our remaining focus groups. We do need you to register ahead because there are limited places, and we have to send you the link so you can do it. The next one coming up will be this coming Wednesday, September the 30th, and it's from 10:30 to 12 noon. Then on next Saturday, we have another one, also in this case from 10 until 11:30, and that's Saturday, October the 3rd. And then our last one is Tuesday, October 6th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. To register for a focus group, email us. Email focusgroupregister, no spaces, no underscores. That's focusgroupregister at firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you forget this email, you can go to our minister search page on our website and click on focus groups. Thank you very much for supporting our settled minister search, and if you haven't already, we hope you will soon. Bye-bye.
This morning's chalice lighting words come from the Reverend Dr. Richard S. Gilbert, author and retired UU minister from the U.S. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirits seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome who entered this space as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. Let us sing our chalice lighting song.
Chalice, chalice, burning bright, help remind us with your light of how we'd like to live each day with love and truth helping lead the way.
Good morning. I am so very happy to be here with you today, at least virtually, and I am going to share with you a story that I share when I go to visit congregations, and this story is called One by Catherine Otoshi. Blue was a quiet color. He enjoyed looking up at the sky, floating on the waves, and on days he felt daring, splashing in rain puddles. Every once in a while he wished he could be more sunny like yellow, or bright like green, more regal like purple, or outgoing like orange. But overall, he liked being blue, except when he was with Red. Red was a hothead. He liked to pick on Blue. Red is a great color, he'd say. Red is hot. Blue is not. Then Blue would feel bad about being blue. Sometimes Yellow comforted Blue. Blue is a very nice color, she'd say. But Yellow never said that in front of Red. She never said, "Stop picking on Blue." Green, purple, and orange thought Blue was nice too, but they never told Red to stop either. Every time Red said something mean and no one spoke up, he got bigger and bigger and bigger. Soon, Red grew so big that everyone was afraid of him. No one dared stop him. Red picked on all the colors. Then everyone felt a little blue. Until one came. He had a different shape, with bold strokes and squared corners. He was funny. He made the colors laugh. Red saw this and got very hot. "Stop laughing," he told Yellow. "Stop laughing," he told Green. "Stop laughing," he told Purple and Orange. And they did. Red rolled up to one. "Stop laughing," he told him. But one stood straight up like an arrow and said, "No." Red was mad, but one wouldn't budge. So Red rolled away. One turned to the colors and said, "If someone is mean and picks on me, I for one stand up and say, 'No.'" Then Yellow felt brave and said, "Me too." Green agreed and said, "Me 3." Then Purple became 4 and Orange became 5. Blue saw the colors change. He wanted to count. Red grew red hot. He felt left out. He grew hotter and hotter and hotter. Red raced over to Blue and said what he always did. "Red is hot, Blue is not." But this time Blue stood up tall and became 6. "Red can be really hot," he said, "but Blue can be super cool." Red blew a fuse and tried to roll over Blue. But everyone took a stand and said, "No." Seeing them standing tall made Red feel very, very, very small. Then Red turned even redder and began rolling away. Blue called out, "Can Red be hot and Blue be cool?" Red stopped in his tracks. "Red can count 2, said one. Red rocked and rolled and turned into 7. Everyone counts, they shouted. Then Red laughed and joined the fun. Sometimes it just takes one. Thank you so much for sharing this story with me today, and we'll proceed with worship.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmonies. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to visions? I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
This is a time in the service when we draw closer to the energy of love and care. A time when we hold those who are both near and far, both loved ones and strangers, in our hearts. It is a ministry of compassion, and although FirstU is in the midst of searching for a new minister, moments of centering joys and concerns is truly a part of our shared ministry. These words were adapted from the late UU Reverend Gordon McKeeman. Ministry is what we do together with one another, in terror and torment, in grief, misery, and pain, enabling us in the presence of even death to say yes to life. We are assured by lostness found, fragments reunited, wounds healed, and joy shared. Ministry is what we all do together. Today, I will place stones in the water for those who you are thinking of, the joys and concerns in our hearts. Let us begin with the stone of joy. This week, we celebrate longtime member Eric Inch's 101st birthday. Happy birthday, Eric. A stone of care. Kate was going to be the worship associate today, but Ron is awaiting an upcoming procedure. Let us hold Kate and Ron in our minds and hearts, and may all go well. A stone of recognition and care. May we remember that Orange Shirt Day will be Wednesday, a day to honor all Indigenous children who were sent away to residential schools in Canada, and to honor the communities and families who are also impacted by this. May this piece of Canadian history not be lost, so we may learn from it. a final stone. May you envision all the weight of the world in this stone. Me, being from the U.S., I envision the weight of injustices like the acquittal of police officers that shot Breonna Taylor during her sleep. I envision the weight of sadness over the loss of American Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I envision the weight of grief over the sudden death of Unitarian Universalist Association powerhouse and renowned co-moderator Elandria Williams. You may envision all of your sadness, all of your anger, all of your grief, all of the weight of the world in this stone. As it sinks into the water, let all of the heaviness be washed away. May peace and joy spread with every ripple. May we hold the joys and sorrows of this gathered community and the sadness and wonders of this earth in our hearts and join together in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jane Dwindell, and thanks for inviting us to your congregation this weekend for the Beyond Categorical Thinking work. I'll be doing the readings this morning. The first one is from The Teachings of Don Juan, A Yaqui Way of Knowledge by Carlos Castaneda. This book was published in 1968, so you will notice some sexist language, but bear with me. What is a man of knowledge? A man of knowledge is one who has followed truthfully the hardships of learning, a man who has without rushing or without faltering gone as far as he can in unraveling the secrets of power and knowledge. Can anyone be a man of knowledge? No, not anyone. Then what must a man do to become a man of knowledge? He must challenge and defeat his four natural enemies. Anyone can try to become a man of knowledge. Very few men actually succeed. But that is only natural. The enemies of a man encounters on the path to learning to become a man of knowledge are truly formidable. Most men succumb to them. When a man starts to learn, he's never clear about his objectives. His purpose is faulty, his intent vague. He hopes for rewards that will never materialize, for he knows nothing of the hardships of learning. He slowly begins to learn bit by bit at first, then in big chunks, and his thoughts soon clash. What he learned is never what he pictured or imagined, and so he begins to be afraid. Learning is never what one expects. Every step of learning is a new task, and the fear the man is experiencing begins to mount mercilessly, unyieldingly. His purpose becomes a battlefield. And thus he has stumbled upon the first of his natural enemies, fear. A terrible enemy, treacherous and difficult to overcome. It remains concealed at every turn, prowling, waiting. And if the man, terrified in its presence, runs away, his enemy will have put an end to his quest. What will happen to the man if he runs away in fear? Nothing happens to him except he will never learn. He will never become a man of knowledge. And what can he do to overcome fear? The answer is very simple. He must not run away. He must defy his fear, and in spite of it, he must take the next step in learning, and the next, and the next. He must be fully afraid, and yet he must not stop. And a moment will come when his first enemy retreats. Once a man has vanquished fear, he is free from it for the rest of his life because he's acquired clarity. Clarity of mind, which erases fear. He can anticipate the new steps of learning, and a sharp clarity surrounds everything. The man feels that nothing is concealed. And thus he has encountered his second enemy, clarity. That clarity of mind, which is so hard to obtain, dispels fear, but it also blinds. It forces the man never to doubt himself. It gives him the assurance he can do anything that he pleases, for he sees clearly into everything. And he's courageous because he's clear. And he stops at nothing because he's clear. But all that is a mistake. It's like something incomplete. If the man yields to this make-believe power, he has succumbed to his second enemy and will be patient when he should rush. And he will fumble with learning until he winds up incapable of learning anything more. His second enemy has just stopped him cold from trying to become a man of knowledge. Instead, the man may turn into a buoyant warrior or a clown. He will be clear as long as he lives, but will no longer learn or yearn for anything. But what does he have to do to avoid being defeated? He must do what he did with fear. He must defy his clarity and use it only to see and wait patiently and measure carefully before taking new steps. He must think above all that his clarity is almost a mistake. In a moment will, when he understands that his clarity was only a point before his eyes, and thus he will have overcome his second enemy and will arrive at a position where nothing can harm him anymore. This will not be a mistake. It will not be only a point before his eyes. It will be true power. He will know at this point that the power he's been pursuing for so long is his. His ally is at his command. But he has also come across his third enemy, power. Power is the strongest of all enemies, and naturally the easiest thing to do is to give in. After all, the man is truly invincible. He commands because he is a master. A man at this stage hardly notices his third enemy is closing in on him, and suddenly, without knowing, he will certainly have lost the battle. His enemy will have turned him into a cruel, capricious man. A man who is defeated by power dies without really knowing how to handle it. Power is only a burden upon his fate. Such a man has no command over himself and cannot tell when or how to use his power. How can he defeat his third enemy? He has to defy it deliberately. He has to come to realize the power he has seemingly conquered is in reality never his. If he can see that clarity and power without his control over himself are worse than mistakes, he will reach a point where everything is held in check. He will know then and when and how to use his power, and thus he will have defeated his third enemy. The man will be by then at the end of his journey of learning, and almost without warning he will come upon the last of his enemies, old age. This enemy is the cruelest of all, the one he won't be able to defeat completely, but only fight away. This is the time when a man has no more fears, no more impatient clarity of mind, but also the time when he has an unyielding desire to rest. If he gives in totally to his desire to lie down and forget, if he soothes himself in tiredness, he will have lost this last round. But if the man sloughs off his tiredness and lives his fate through, he can be called a man of knowledge, if only for the brief moment when he succeeds in fighting off his last invincible enemy. That moment of clarity, power, and knowledge is enough. The second reading this morning is from the play Cyrano de Bergerac by Edmond Rostand. Here is Cyrano describing the fair Roxane. She's a danger mortal, all unsuspicious, full of charms unconscious, like a sweet perfumed rose, a snare of nature, within whose petals Cupid lurks in ambush. He who has seen her smile has known perfection, instilling into trifles grace's essence, divinity in every careless gesture. Not Venus's self can mount her conch-blown seaward, as she can step into her chaise a porture, nor Diane fleet across the wood spring-flowered, light as my lady o'er the stones of Paris.
Good morning to everyone. I am sorry that I'm not able to be there with you. Obviously, we normally conduct these worship services in person, but we make adjustments for what the world brings us, and the world has brought us this pandemic, and so we're all having to get used to things being a little bit different. I understand that it is Orange Shirt Day this week, and in that spirit, I'm a product of the University of Texas higher educational system, and so I'm wearing an orange necktie for you, even though I don't have an orange dress shirt. I'm wearing an orange necktie in solidarity with you. So I'd like to share this reflection with you that I do. The question is always the same, though it has many variants. Gil, are you Italian? No, I'm not Italian. I'm American. I had the privilege of seeing the actor and activist Edward James Olmos speak once during the period of time that I lived in Los Angeles, and soon after the Rodney King riots. He said he was often criticized by some members of the Latino community for not speaking up exclusively or vocally enough about his Mexican heritage, to which he said that he usually replied that Mexican was pretty far down his identity list. First and foremost, he offered that he was a human. Second, a North American. Third, a United States of American. And then perhaps fourth, a Mexican American. But truthfully, even that is not a fine enough sieve to tell us very much about him. Since we are only knowing each other virtually, in that spirit, I will offer the following quick list of identities that I have. I am a human. I am a male. I am a husband. I am a father. I used to be Roman Catholic, capital R, capital C. I'm now just a Catholic, little c. I'm a Christian. I'm left-handed. I'm an only child. I'm North American. I'm Mexican American. I'm Texan. I'm a product of prep school. I'm a product of art school. I'm a social worker. I'm a Unitarian that appreciates the poetry of the Trinity. I'm Universalist. Now, we have all of those terrific categories to try and slot me into, but they still don't tell you very much about who I am or how I will behave, do they? Although no doubt the wheels are turning. Left-handed, gonna die young. Oh no, not a Christian. Now he won't stop talking about that Jesus stuff. The question is always the same, though it has many variants. Gil, are you Spanish? No, I'm not Spanish. I'm from Texas. You don't sound like you're from Texas. What can I say? I went to prep school. I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, where more than 60% of the population identify as Latino or Hispanic. San Antonio, like many towns, has had its share of tensions around the ethnic composition of her inhabitants. I always noticed our particular version of détente the most in our famous annual fiesta celebration. This is about 3 weeks of parties and street festivals and parades. It was started in the 19th century in 1891 as a celebration of the heroes of the Alamo and the Battle of San Jacinto. Some fine society ladies decorated their coaches and proceeded to parade around downtown, pelting each other with flowers. The Battle of Flowers is now billed as the second largest parade in the country, just behind the Tournament of Roses. And if you're going to have parades, you have to have pretty ladies. And San Antonio society was more than happy to provide lots of debutantes and dashing young men to escort them. And the king of the event, King Antonio. And a funny thing for a town that has a population of more than 60% Hispanic and Latino, that king and his court were all, shall we say, pretty pigmentation impaired. Or in Texas, sometimes they use the word gabacho. After 55 years of being on the outside looking in, the Mexicanos decided that maybe there ought to be a Mexicano king too. Our little scamps in the Mexican community named their king El Rey Feo, the ugly king. They took their cue from a medieval Spanish tale of peasant unrest, who crowned their own ironic people's king, the ugly one, in contrast to the handsome pale one. And a few short years later, about 33, the fine ladies and gentlemen who run Fiesta decided that Rey Feo bunch is pretty fun. Maybe they should be an official part of the Fiesta family of events. He even got his own parade. Can anyone say separate but equal? I've always been a little proud that the guy who gets elected the Rey Feo is the one who raises the most money, over $150,000, for low-income scholarships to serve San Antonio youth. I don't know how they select King Antonio, and apparently their webmaster doesn't either, since I couldn't find it on their website. It's kind of funny, during my time of watching the Rey Feo go by, I've seen one or two Anglo ugly kings. But when King Antonio comes by, I haven't seen any brown faces. Not so much, as they say. I've led a very blessed and privileged life. I went to the finest private prep school in San Antonio. My father was a civil servant with the Air Force for 37 years, and our family has always had a strong belief in the power of education. It was a stretch for me to attend, but I was able to attend that school. His parents emigrated from Mexico in the teens of the 20th century. My granddad was a cowhand who worked the cattle ranches in South Texas. My blonde-haired and blue-eyed mother, who is adopted, is probably the product of German or South Texas Czech stock. I also say that I am blessed because until a few years ago, I only knew of one overtly racist event in my life. Ah, the beautiful Roxanne. Cyrano was right in describing her charms. Roxanne was a glorious, long-stemmed South Texas beauty with a glowing, friendly smile and gorgeous blue eyes, and I was a shy, sheltered, prep-schooled, half-breed Mexican kid trying to get a little experience in the world, and I had landed first as an orderly and then as a ward clerk in a large regional hospital. Roxanne and I were friendly, and being roughly the same age and hormonal maturity, I began to try to get her to go out with me. It seemed like the usual mating ritual of Homo sapiens sapiens, some coy denials, unavailable, but they felt to a sheltered young fellow like me like all they needed was just a smidge more charm to win her affections. Until my friend Andy, an orderly, waded in one night. "Gil, Roxanne really doesn't want you to ask her out anymore." "Really? Why?" "Because she said she won't go out with a Mexican." I actually started laughing. Andy was a kidder. But I thought, well, this deserves a little follow-up with the horse's mouth, so the next time I saw the fair Roxanne, I cautiously inquired, "Andy told me something, but I don't think I understood." To which Roxanne replied, "I thought it was clear." Uh-huh. I really had led a sheltered life. This was so far out of left field it could have been from another planet. A meteor could have landed in front of me, and wow, look, a meteor. Wow, look, a racist. In my school, really the only tension that I had seen was about whether someone was smarter than someone else. I couldn't even be angry about it because it was just so completely foreign to my experience of the world. And as it does, the world marched on. I have no idea what happened to Roxanne, although the tall African-American veteran vocational nurse who was my outspoken guardian and my mom on the ward had some choice suggestions. I wish the fair Roxanne peace on her path wherever she has landed. Perhaps I should have been angry with her, but all I really had was pity for her and the ignorance that she was raised with. The question is always the same, though it has many variants. "Gil, are you Dutch Indonesian?" "You're Dutch Indonesian, I can tell." Now this one is a particular favorite with my Scottish-Irish wife, who will testify that I actually received this question. I think for some people it's just kind of a downer that you're Mexican. They really will dance around the topic to save themselves that discomfort. Dutch Indonesian? Well, okay, to be fair, that one happened in an Indonesian restaurant, and apparently I was wearing a Dutch Indonesian haircut at the time. Who knew there was such a thing as a Dutch Indonesian haircut? No, I'm Mexican. Mexican-American, to be precise. Tamales and menudo and a bunch of short little tias sitting around drinking coffee on Sundays. Mexican-American. So oppression is a funny thing. When we think of the word, I think most of us fall victim to the idea that racism and oppression are only individual traits and failings done by bad people who we take giant leaps to hate-filled supremacists and clanners and horrific events like the death of Matthew Shepard or the horrific dragging death of James Byrd here in East Texas. Those are so far away from anything we aspire to as Unitarian Universalists that we can be comfortably appalled by them from a distance. We're not like that. We completely and categorically oppose that. Like Don Juan, seeker of knowledge, though, I think we can sometimes dash ourselves on the rocks of his second enemy, clarity. The demographics are clear. We're super progressive, highly educated, got it going on kinds of people. When I was a congregational administrator, I always had to smile at the look of relief on new members' faces when they have that "I didn't know there were other cool progressive people like me around" moment. Oppression is a funny thing. I said I've only known about a couple of events of personal racism that were directed at me personally, but I wonder about the ones I don't know about, and I have become much more reflective on the systemic expression of racism and hierarchy. Oppression seldom comes with a noose or with dogs in the night anymore, or from a bus driver sending you to the back, or even in a hospital hallway to your face. I think today most of it is very subtle. A reasonable law that somehow seems to disproportionately affect a single population. The presumption that a person with light skin or a fine vocabulary must be honest. A resume that gets shifted to the bottom. A phone call that doesn't get returned, a wink, a whisper, a nudge. As Don Juan tries to instruct poor Carlos, the false idol of clarity can close us off from learning and true knowledge. I've seen this in my own and in congregations I've visited. Kinds of things that I've heard. I was accosted once and told that you can't be Christian and be a UU. I've heard that, most people aren't UUs because they aren't as smart as we are. One congregation I heard somebody say, well, we prefer to call a man and a woman a couple because that's the natural way. When we think that we know that Mexicans always have big families, I'm an only child with an only child. When we know that a disabled person can't keep up with us, when we know that Christians are all fundamentalists, when we know that gay people only talk about gay stuff, when we know what is natural, clarity has defeated us. When we fall into that shorthand, when we try to paint universal truths with those dull, categorical brushstrokes, we fail ourselves and we fail our faith. We fail our faith in the interdependent web of life. We fail our faith in the ongoing search for truth and meaning. We fail our faith in inherent worth and dignity. Today, your congregation is continuing your journey to call a new minister. Those of us who conduct these workshops and share our experiences are committed to the idea that it is vitally important ministry that you get the absolute best match for your congregation. And we truly believe that your chances of getting the best match greatly improve by sitting down and talking about that lazy shorthand. The categories that sneak into our thinking and possibly block you from getting your best match. I'd like to ask you to take a moment now and to clear your thoughts so that we can share an intention together out into the universe. May we always be open to new truth. May we always seek the path of knowledge. May we always have clarity without hubris. May we always honor and bring honor to our faith. Thank you. Amen.
This is a time in our service that we usually accept the offering. You may go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how you may keep up with your pledge or make a donation during these times. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of the congregation, to serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, and loving one another. Thank you for your contributions of time, talent, and resource. For the extinguishing of the chalice, these words were adapted from the Reverend Leslie Ahuva Fales, serving the UU Fellowship in Fairbanks, Alaska. What wonders await us in the space between the first leap and the moment our feet, wills, however we move our bodies across this precious earth, touch down softly on unknown soil. What have we got to lose that we can't replace with some previously unimaginable joy? May we have courage in our leaping, gratitude in our landing, and the joy of a long and fruitful ministry together ahead. May it be so. And let us sing Spirit of Life.
Come unto me,
Go in peace. Go in joy. Go in love. Thank you.